Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
History, as told by the victors, has long shaped the narratives we accept as truth. Yet, buried beneath the grand chronicles of European royal dynasties lies an overlooked story, a tale of interwoven bloodlines that stretches beyond the continent's borders. European aristocracy, often portrayed as an unbroken lineage of Caucasian heritage, has, in fact, been shaped by the undeniable influence of African ancestry. This revelation is not merely a footnote in the annals of history, but a testament to the deep interconnectivity of global civilizations. The story of African blood in European royal houses is not one of speculation but of historical evidence, concealed beneath centuries of selective historiography. What if the royal houses of Europe, so often held as symbols of white purity, carry the very African heritage that European empires sought to suppress? The presence of African lineage in European nobility did not happen by accident. It was shaped by historical events spanning centuries. The Moorish occupation of Spain and Portugal, lasting from 711 to 1492, played a crucial role in the genetic blending of African and European bloodlines. The Moors, a diverse group primarily composed of Berbers and Arabs from North Africa, ruled vast portions of the Iberian Peninsula, establishing centers of learning, architecture, and governance. During this period, intermarriage between African, Arab, and European nobility was not uncommon. The influence of the Moors extended into the royal courts of Spain and Portugal, leading to marriages and alliances that would later ripple into the broader European aristocracy. One of the most fascinating examples of African blood in European royalty is Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, the wife of King George III of Britain. Queen Charlotte, who lived in the 18th century, was widely recognized for her African ancestry, tracing back to a branch of the Portuguese royal family that had intermarried with African nobility. Her portraits, particularly those commissioned by Sir Allan Ramsay, reflect features often associated with African heritage, leading many historians to investigate her genealogy. Charlotte's lineage connects to Madragana, a 13th-century African mistress of King Afonso III of Portugal. The African presence in Portuguese and Spanish royalty, due to both Moorish rule and later intermarriages, thus found its way into the British monarchy. Portugal, in particular, played a significant role in this historical blending. The early Portuguese monarchy, shaped by interactions with Africa due to trade and exploration, saw multiple instances of African-European unions. The aforementioned Madragana, a North African woman, bore children to Afonso III, securing African lineage within Portuguese royal descendants. Given the interconnected nature of European royal houses, this bloodline spread across courts in France, Spain, Austria, and beyond. The influence of African ancestry did not stop in Portugal or Spain, but extended into other European dynasties. France, during the reign of Louis XIV, saw the arrival of African individuals into its aristocracy. The famous Chevalier de Saint-Georges, a renowned musician and swordsman of African descent, moved in the highest circles of French nobility. Though he was not of direct royal blood, his close association with the court reflected the deeper, often unspoken, ties between African heritage and the European elite. Further east, Russian history presents another fascinating case. Tsar Peter the Great took in Abram Petrovich Ganibal, an African boy who would later become one of the most influential figures in Russian history. Though not of royal birth himself, Ganibal was granted noble status and became an integral part of the Russian aristocracy, even becoming the great-grandfather of the famous poet Alexander Pushkin. His rise to prominence reflected the complex reality that African heritage was not foreign to European nobility, even in the vast Russian Empire. Another key case in European history is the Habsburg dynasty, one of the most powerful royal families in Europe. Though records of direct African lineage are scarce due to the family's tightly controlled marriage policies, there are indications of North African genetic influence through their Iberian connections. The Spanish Habsburgs, having ruled during and after the Reconquista, were influenced by the centuries-long interactions with North African and African-descended individuals in the Spanish court. The suppression of African bloodlines in European royal history was largely a result of racial politics that emerged during the colonial period. As European empires expanded into Africa and the Americas, racial hierarchies were established to justify the transatlantic slave trade and the subjugation of non-European peoples. It became politically and socially inconvenient to acknowledge African ancestry in the highest echelons of power. The whitening of history, a process through which African contributions were systematically erased or downplayed, took hold in European historiography. Portraits were altered, genealogical records were obscured, and racial purity became an ideological weapon. Despite efforts to erase or obscure this history, modern genealogical research, DNA analysis, and historical documentation have increasingly shed light on the African connections within European royal houses. Scholars have revisited archival evidence, including letters, paintings, and official records, to reconstruct a more accurate picture of European royal ancestry. The field of historical genetics has also begun to explore the implications of these hidden bloodlines, offering scientific evidence that confirms long-suspected connections. The implications of this hidden history are profound. It challenges the rigid racial narratives that have been constructed over centuries and forces a reconsideration of what it means to belong to European aristocracy. More importantly, it underscores the reality that African heritage has always been present in the very structures that sought to marginalize it. This history is not merely about individual figures, but about the larger forces of migration, conquest, and cultural exchange that have shaped the world. As historians continue to unravel the complexities of European royal bloodlines, the acknowledgement of African ancestry in these dynasties becomes not just an act of historical accuracy, but one of justice. By restoring these connections, we honor the forgotten figures who played roles in shaping the royal courts of Europe. Their stories, once hidden, now emerge as a testament to the undeniable interweaving of African and European histories. In revealing these bloodlines, we dismantle the myths of racial purity and recognize the shared humanity that transcends the artificial divisions of race and class.